The English language has changed the face of the world. With over one-third of the world population conversing in English, it has grown from a regional language to a truly global one. The introduction of English to the Indian subcontinent is often thought of as having been forced by the British after Lord Macaulay's report on education in 1835. However, this is not entirely the case. Christian missionaries that were setting a pace in the 1600s were the first to introduce English to the subcontinent. The year 1813 saw the passing of the Charter Act that was followed by a flood of British missionaries which brought with them English education and ideas. By the beginning of the 19th century, a part of the Indian population had already developed a liking towards the language. Missionaries and social reformers such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy were of the opinion that English provided Indians with the key to all knowledge, all the really useful knowledge which the world contains. However, in the early 1800s, the British government decided to invest in furthering traditional education such as that of Sanskrit and Persian.
Enlightened reformers like Rajaram Mohan Roy protested vehemently, and petitions were filed demanding the imparting of the best and most modern European education through English. Sanskrit and Persian, which were the chief subjects of study, were felt to be entirely inadequate. Rajaram Mohan Roy himself founded a number of schools to teach Bengali youth through the medium of English. By the time of Macaulay, the demand for the introduction of English as the medium of instruction and for the modernization of education was widespread.
In the following years, English was firmly established as the medium of infrastructure and administration by the British Raj. It was seen as the language of opportunity and became accepted as the language of the elite, of administration, and of the pan-Indian press. But English faced a strong opposition. Gandhiji, educated in English himself, said, "The process of displacing the vernacular has been one of the saddest chapters in the British connection." Ram Mohan Roy would have been a greater reformer, and Lokmanya Tilak would have been a greater scholar if they had not to start with the handicap of having to think in English and transmit their thoughts chiefly in English. India, however, continued down the path with Jawaharlal Nehru delivering the independence address to the whole nation in English.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
After independence, much effort was made by the nationalists to make Hindi the national language, but riots opposing the move erupted across the country. The government was left with no choice than to accept the imperialistic yet convenient and neutral language available at the time, English. The debate about Hindi as a national language continues until this day, and the population remains steadfast in its opinion.
Is Hindi acceptable to all Indians as the national language? What are you telling us at the start of the show? In fact, 54% yes, 46% though there are saying no, Hindi is not acceptable as a national language.
But today, English is not just a link language, but the language for social mobility. It is a vehicle of progress, regardless of caste, sex, or color.
English language was seen as a language of the imperialists, but today with globalization, with outsourcing, English has become a language of aspiration, and this has made something that everybody wants to learn, and the fact that we have English is now becoming a huge strategic asset.
On the flip side, it has caused deep-seated changes in Indian culture and society, where people attempt to speak the language in order to maintain interpersonal relationships.
Is that Rishi, no?
माँ, knock तो क्या करो यार?
Ray, you are being my son by knocking.
क्या चाहिए माँ?
Meet करने आई थी. So much time not seeing you.
माँ, अब प्लीज इंग्लिश पे बात मत करो. आपको नहीं आती.
Whether this is progress or not, only time will tell.